Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. Hi, Ricky. This is my third live today. Do I get
Wow,
a
well,
prize? I'm so excited to be here with my longtime friend, fellow truther, David from Down Under, who is, I think, really a tech guru, tech wizard. He calls himself a tech consultant. I think he's a lot more than that. And his specialty moving forward at this point in time is building digital freedom. So I'm going to let him kind of take the floor and start to take us on this journey. Welcome, David. It's lovely to have you back on the channel. It's been a while.
it has been a while, yes, but uh, yeah. So I guess maybe the best way to describe this is start this is just to describe what I've been doing for like over a decade now. For over a decade, I've been working with individuals and organisations and keeping them safer and more secure with their computers, and also just like general consulting. If they don't know how to do something on a computer, I usually find ways to help them reach their goals with whatever it is they're trying to do. So I've got quite a bit of experience seeing people get infected with viruses. It's like having other issues with the computers not working properly, but viruses is most probably the biggest thing I see in my day-to-day job. So so I think what I'll do, I'll just go over to my notes for today's
Yeah, and I want to take a
video.
moment to tell everybody to just give them a bit of the lay of the land of what we're going to be discussing. It's probably going to be about an hour. And is it okay if I just read your, like, not the full description of your notes,
Sure.
but just
Yep.
the points? Because I think it'll be great. So David's going to give us a bit of an intro, and I think it's fascinating where he's going to take us because it's a little bit into history and it's into how this whole concept of, I don't want to say pulling the wool over our eyes, but like, this energy of leading the masses where they aren't quite sure what's going on. He's got a fascinating kind of story to tell about that. The eagle and the werewolf. I'll let him go ahead and
Yep.
explain the significance of those two concepts. And then he's going to take us into a bit of the recent past of the tech industry and the current state of AI. I think this is where we're really wanting to focus, David. Like, where are we at? What is this pivotal moment that we're at? And then the final segment is on battening down the hatches, and how do we prevent these, these tech giants from kind of closing us into this system where we don't have a lot of options. So, this is getting us going into an area that at some point I keep saying over the years that I want to get you together with my dear friend Dan Nielsen, because he's working at another angle with this same topic. So I think we'll do something down the road with both of you. But
Sounds good.
start us off, David. Start us off with
The
yeah,
eagle and the werewolf.
the eagle and the werewolf. It's pretty fascinating.
Okay, so intelligence and psychological operations have been part of war and empire building for millennia, for several millennia. So it's not a new thing. So just to give you an example, there's something in intelligence called steganography. Okay, and what steganography means? It means it's a symbol that is put out in the public that only the elite or certain people know what that symbol means. To everyone else, it just looks something mundane and
Innocuous, yeah.
not that special. So in this case, we're talking about the eagle. So people see an eagle and they think, oh well, that's nice. It's a beautiful looking bird, and that's as far as they'll go with it. But the eagle is a is a symbol of steganography that the Roman Empire first started using. Then it was something that's used by Hitler's Third Reich, and now it's currently being used by the US government. And if you look at their seals, it's like the United States government's current seal. It has an eagle on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like and it's a big part of how the ancient Roman civilization, Hitler's Third Reich, presented themselves. They'd quite often march with an eagle. And the reason why they used an eagle is because an eagle represents the ability to see much further ahead than what its prey can. Okay, so when it's like an eagle, it's like sees its prey, the prey doesn't even know that the eagle's around at the moment because the eagle can see so much further than what the prey can. So that's
So
the whole idea behind that
what we
symbol.
call that 40,000-foot view or whatever, right? It's
Yeah.
the big
So
picture.
yeah, the eagle's not even a dot in the sky as far as the prey is concerned. It can't even see that. Whereas the eagle can see the prey quite clearly, and it gets a chance to start, heading towards it and attack it before it even knows it's there.
Mm.
And it's like that's how empires have been built for such a long time. It's like being able to know more than what your enemy knows or the public knows is very important to either invade another country or to keep the general population under control.
Mm-hmm.
In the 80s, in Moscow University, there was a social deduction game created by the psychology department there called the Werewolf.
Mm-hmm.
Another name for it is the Mafia game. And those viewers that are in the UK might know it as the Traitor, which was a reality game that was based solely on this experiment, which was quite popular over there.
What's the word of it again? The name?
It's called the Werewolf game. The TV show in the UK was called The Traitor, which is based on the same social experiment.
Okay, yeah.
Yep. So, in a nutshell, the way the game works, it's like someone is either the traitor or the werewolf. Okay, and there's a group of people, and the group of people have no idea who the traitor is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so every night at the end of the day, after it's like socializing with everyone, the whole group gets a chance to try to figure out who the traitor is and vote them out. And if they fail to vote the traitor out, then the traitor can eliminate someone from the game after that vote. Okay, so the traitors will head off without the rest of the group know that they're heading off to like vote on eliminating someone.
Mm-hmm.
And what they discovered in the game was that the informed minority, which in this case is the traitors, will always have a much bigger advantage than the uninformed majority, which is the people that don't know who the traitors are.
Okay.
And that's important to
Mm-hmm.
give a lay of the land of what we're actually dealing with here. As far as the tech industry is concerned, we have a whole bunch of these technocrats that have like a huge idea of what's going on in the world. And then we got ourselves, which we're the uninformed majority, which don't know what they know. And
I just want to stop you for a sec, David. I just think that is such an amazing analogy. And obviously, we're not saying that eagles are bad or wolves are bad, but what you're illustrating is that this is a phenomena where literally, the insignia, these games, it's designed to show us that they were fully aware that this was the position they were holding, that there was a lot going on that the common people were completely oblivious to. And, I feel like we are here at this time. We've been given the opportunity to peel back some of that, the veil of secrecy on a lot of these things. And someone like you, who's been in this industry for decades, is seeing the insider from a awake truth or perspective and can tell us, hey folks, here's the things you want to pay attention to. Here's the things where we can inform ourselves, empower ourselves, and avoid what? That's what we're going to talk about. So thank you, David.
Yes. And yeah, so that's the introduction. So I think that gives the audience it's like a rough idea of where we're heading with this, and what we're going to try and circumvent is like how to like make sure they don't get too much information about us, and also to keep ourselves safe. So that brings me to the recent past of the tech industry. So one of the biggest things that's been happening over the last decade or so is like so many times I hear clients of mine saying, I was outside with my girlfriends the other day, and I was talking about hair clips, and I don't have long hair, but I'm seeing ads for hair clips on my phone now, because we have this situation where we're under so much surveillance from advertising companies. It's incredible, and they know so much about us, and it's just it's just insane how bad it is. And also that's a problem we'll run into with as far as security is concerned, as well as privacy. I see, or I guess the best way to describe it, there's like 2 or 3 main ad network companies that control all the ads on the internet. So when you're a website owner and you're needing to put ads on your website because it's the only way you can make revenue, it's like you'll contact one of those 3 main ad network companies, and that company will come in and will take over portions of your website, and those portions of your website are no longer under your control. All you know is ads are being pushed through there. You don't even know what the ads are, and you're getting paid for clicks or views on that ad. Now, these 2 or 3 ad network companies have thousands upon thousands of ads coming through their networks every day. They don't have time to check them to make sure they're legitimate. Okay, so when you have someone who's some hacker in the Philippines or something like that who's trying to like spread a virus, he or she knows how all of this works. And what they'll do is they'll create an ad so they can spread the virus quickly, and they know they can make up whatever lie they want to get people to click on the ad. And also, if they're very clever, they can actually inject the virus itself into the ad. So seeing the ad and not clicking on it is not enough, because once you see the ad, it's actually been downloaded onto your device. Okay, and if they inject the virus into the ad itself, then it's too late. Your computer's infected. So that's a huge problem I see day in, day out. It's one of the main ways I see my customers get attacked. Mm-hmm. And that's so that's much one of the biggest concern I have with the tech industries, like currently and in the past.
Okay.
Now we've got artificial intelligence coming onto the scene. That's bringing in a whole bunch of different issues. So we had a lot of surveillance with advertising. So with artificial intelligence, it's going to be it's like magnitudes worse than what it has been with advertising. So with advertising, what they're able to do is they're able to, like with mathematical algorithms, it's a bit like algebra. Mm-hmm. So if you ever did algebra in high school, if you remember that, it's like you got x plus y plus z equals 23. Mm-hmm. And then from that, it's like a result, you can figure out what x plus y plus z should add up to. Right. So with a little bit of information about the general public, like an IP address for your internet service, for example, they can tie that information to you personally, and then they can also build a profile that's pretty accurate of who you are and what you like, and that's just based on simple mathematics. With artificial intelligence, it just goes to it's like an even deeper level again. And the way artificial intelligence works has to know everything about everyone and everything. So one of the things that's concerning is like Elon Musk and sorry, someone's cleaning my windows outside right now.
There's a metaphor in that, David. Someone's cleaning your windows. Your Windows software is getting clean.
Yes, your Windows computer. And we're actually going to get to that later as well, folks. It's like, so we're going to give you some easy and effective ways to like help keep yourself
Yeah,
safe, private.
someone's already asking how safe is antiviruses?
Well, that's a good question, and I'll answer that now. It's like it's a lot like. Well, first of all, it's like some people are under the impression if you have antivirus, you're completely safe. That's not true. It's a lot like crime in the real world. Um, if you have a couple of detectives knock on your door and say, "Oh, we're just doing a sweep of the neighbourhood and we're just letting the people in the neighbourhood know we're there," and you turn around and say to them, "Oh, have you seen any criminals?" And they say, "Well, no, we haven't actually." And they say, "Oh, so that means we're 100% safe then." The detectives will say, "Well, look, it doesn't mean you're 100% safe because there's always some criminals that escape the net. But generally speaking, your neighbourhood is one of the safest in the city." All right. So just like there's, you're never 100% safe, even if you have the best antivirus out there, but there's varying degrees of protection. So the worst antivirus will give you virtually no protection at all. Good antivirus will get you as close to 100% as possible. It'll never be 100%, but it'll be like 90 or 95% safe.
And you're going to give us those details
I'm going to
later
give
on,
you,
right?
yeah.
Okay,
So
great.
stay tuned to thanks for that, Gisela. That's a very good question, and that's something we're going to have. We're going to have some free tutorials for the audience to have a look at the end of the video. We'll links to that anyway. We're not actually going to show them today because the video will go for like 2 hours instead of one if we did that. But yeah, back to where we were with the current state of the tech industry. It's like Elon Musk and Jack Dorsey. I think I might have a link to that actually.
Yeah, do you want me to put your share screen up? Do you want me to put your screen up?
Yep. Hold on, I'm just going to put a different screen up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yep, there we go. So I've got that up now. And you can, thanks for that, Ashala. So yes, recently Elon Musk and Jack Dorsey called for abolition of all intellectual property laws, arguing there are much greater models to pay creators. Well, for starters, they don't actually tell us what those models are that are better to pay creators with. But this is one of the things that is quite concerning about artificial intelligence.
Yeah. Whoa. Hold on. I want to decode this. So abolition, removal of all intellectual property laws. And the premise is that there's going to be greater models to pay creators.
Well, they're saying there will be, but they don't say what they actually are.
Right. Okay. So, for example, and this is definitely like this has got all my alarm bells ringing because I've literally even talked to lawyers about intellectual property rights in years past. I have different works of writing that will eventually be published, and I'm very aware of this. It's like it was already copyright protection was already such a loaded kind of landmine scenario. And now if we have AI reading and like repurposing everything that we create, like it can just go in and cherry pick out of our amazing works of whatever, masterpieces, works of fiction or, nonfiction, like programs and stuff that we develop, courses that we develop, all of that content, AI can go in, utilize big segments of it, and then change things, other parts, and hijack it into something else. So that I really am worried about that.
That is a huge problem, and I just sometimes wonder whether the whole thing with the anti-censorship it's like route that Elon Musk is going on with Twitter is like, I'm just wondering if they're using that as a way to lead into this. Because so anyway, for people that don't know, Jack Dorsey used to own Twitter before Elon Musk bought it. And what he did recently, he started a discussion on Twitter, which is now called X, stating he wants to delete all IP law. And Elon Musk, the current owner of Twitter, which is now called X, jumped into the discussion and he said, "Look, I think it's a great idea, and they're trying to say that AI can't work properly with intellectual property laws in place, because if they break copyright law, they're going to be what they call the equivalent of a low-level drug offence fine for every time they do that. Obviously, it could be a lot more than that, but they obviously want to downplay that. And yeah, it's quite concerning. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to just share another screen. And let me just bring this up. And about a year ago, can everyone see that? Yep. It's like one of the lead developers for OpenAI, which is one of the biggest AI platforms out there at the moment. He raised legal concerns about ChatGPT's data sets and how they need to access copyrighted information, and how they're doing it in a way that breaches copyright, which he was quite concerned about. He apparently committed suicide, so I don't want to go into conspiracy theories here. He might have actually killed himself, we don't know. But it does seem quite convenient that he's no longer on the scene to actually blow the whistle about this anymore. So it is quite concerning the way they want to go with this. Ultimately, what they want to do is they want to not only remove intellectual property laws, but also create a situation where there's no such thing as property laws either, and we'll have this tech industry with the help of AI creating what is the equivalent of techno feudalism. So, I mean, I like to call it the dictatorship as well, but techno feudalism is most probably more accurate word. So it's pretty much exactly the same as the feudal situation that we used to have in medieval Europe, where we had kings and queens that would own all the land, and if you're a farmer, it's like you had to pay tax to the king and queen, and you never actually owned the land. Oh, sorry, there's some window cleaners again. So yeah, so if you had a farm, you never owned the land. The king or queen owned it, and you also had to pay a tax on your like annual harvest every year to the king or queen that owned it. That's the type of situation they want to bring forward with AI, where we don't own anything anymore. They're talking about bringing in universal basic income, but I think that's just going to be something that could eventually might start off as being a good thing, but eventually it's not going to be much better than that situation I was talking before, where we're paid it, so we don't own anything, and they're just trying to keep us quiet.
Yeah, and I mean a lot. Okay, so I also really am aware, like, it's fascinating to me how many of my friends and family are already using ChatGPT for things like writing simple letters, answering questions about things that they don't want to spend the time doing research online. They want to just get a quick download of the information. I even have, I know of someone that's using it to get counseling, like they're actually putting in diagnosis for illnesses. You put in all your symptoms and it gives you this great analysis. So I even heard where you can ask the question in a very simple way and you'll get kind of like the simple chat GPT. But if you ask it in a really intellectual way, you'll get a whole other version, which is super, super deep, profoundly deep. Okay. So where I go with this is, first of all, like we run the risk of dumbing down more than we already are, because we're getting more, like, it's so quick for us to get used to this, right? For me, even as a writer, I started writing 30 years ago, before computers really, and I was writing by hand, typing, right? And now that I have a computer, I mean, it would be really hard for me to go back and type
Yep.
or write by hand, like I'm a bit too lazy to do that, to be honest. And I mean, we used to have to, you'd write and you'd either have to white things out or you'd have to put a bubble around it and move it to another page. Like I literally sometimes would cut pieces of my my essays or my writing out and move it, paste it onto, literally physically cut and paste. I mean, it's just painful, right? So it's like you can see how easy it is to become not only adapted and accustomed to these things, but absolutely barely able to function without them. And in a generation, not able to function without them.
Yeah. And that's a huge danger. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's one of the things I want to mention as well. Well, that you gave some good examples of the things that are great about AI. It's going to save people so much time. So, for example, it's like legal briefs are probably the most powerful thing you can use ChatGPT for, and some of the other major AI platforms out there. It's like something that would take you, it might take you months to put together an amicus brief, for example. With AI, you could do it in a couple of minutes. And it's going to do it so well that the judge is not going to have any problems with what you're presenting in court. And quite often it'll help you win the case a lot more easily than what you would have been if you did it manually yourself. So there's some very powerful things you can do with AI, but the danger of it is it's going to make us dumber. There is some sort of intelligence that's required to use AI well. So one of the things that is going to teach people to do well is to ask the right questions. Because when you're using artificial intelligence, there's something called prompts, where that's another word for a question. So you prompt the AI to come up with a response. And if you get really good at asking prompts in the right way, you can actually get a much better result with artificial intelligence than what you would if you didn't really know how to ask the question properly.
Yeah, and this takes us into, we have a question here, which I knew it was going to go here. So let's just dive in. We might as well face it right now. Shanti is asking, can you talk about the people talking to what they're calling their higher selves or going through what they say are quantum gateways with AI?
Right. Well, there's no official quantum computer backend to artificial intelligence. Not to say that there's not, but there's no official talk about that publicly. But yeah, that's just one of the things I was thinking about this morning before I came on the show. Was there was a guy, just a sidetrack to quantum computing, because that is definitely a thing. There's a Canadian, it's like an entrepreneur. I can't remember his name, but he invented a company called D-Wave. We came up with a company called D-Wave, and he started selling the world's cheapest quantum computers through that company. And at the time, which is, I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago, though he was selling those computers for about $1 million each, which is quite cheap for a quantum computer. Now, at the time, it's like when he's first launching them, he did quite a few. It's like he did a bit of a tour, it's like around the US and Canada, presenting his product to people, and those presentations got put up online. And one of the things that was quite concerning about one of those presenters, which eventually got pulled from the internet, was he was talking about how he could actually use one of the reasons why he's so excited about quantum computing, because he could actually use the quantum computer to summon demons through it. Okay, because if you know how quantum computers work, it is tied quite strongly to consciousness in its rawest form. And what I was thinking about today, well, what if the same thing could happen, but with instead of demons, maybe angels or our higher selves? So there is a possibility through quantum computers that that higher energy could be pulled through just as easy as what the lower demonic energy could. So sometimes I feel like maybe there is.
Just like with intuition, how do you know which one you're getting? And right? And the good thing about intuition, because it's running through your own body, is you can feel the difference. Now, I'm not saying you cannot do that. Like, I don't have an absolute definitive answer for this right now, but my suspicion is, first of all, we don't need this. We can talk to our higher selves and have this phenomenal downloads of the most extraordinary information. Folks, I do it all the time. I mean, I talk to people's higher selves day in and day out. That's what I do for work. And the most extraordinary stuff comes through. I mean, I don't brag about it, but it's just unbelievable. The details, like, I'm not a AI chat GPT, but I'm basically tuning in with this person. However, I am a human being with a human heart. I have emotion, I have compassion, I have a soul. And it's, I guess, where I want to take this is to inquire at some point. Like, I actually did cards on this earlier today as well, because I knew we were going to be talking about it. And what I was getting was there's a little bit of like priming the pump in terms of getting people thinking a little bit more expansively, right? Like and then at some point, I suspect that our innate intuition, our higher selves, our higher consciousness is just going to override this and go, we don't even need these things. We don't need to sit down at a computer and do this. Like, we can do it. We don't need artificiality in terms of these physical technologies to do this. We can do it heart to heart, psyche to psyche, soul to soul in the metaphysical realm. We don't need the physical stuff between us.
Yeah,
so
that's a whole nother conversation we can have.
It's a whole other conversation.
I've been dealing with people that do that sort of thing for thousands of years.
Totally. And we had to touch on it because it's a big part of this, right? It's where I think it's where a lot of people will be like, wow, like I've had people say, I put in these questions, these philosophical questions, and the responses I got were more profound than what I get talking to humans. And it's like, okay, because this particular instrument has access to so much data, and it has an ability to collect that data quickly, but it's still data. It's still raw data. And at some point, my perception is that we're going to get to the point where we don't need that, because discernment is what comes in here, right? How does that technology discern what is actually for our greater good? Right? Like, can it give us information that is not actually going to be helpful for us? Is it doing a prayer before it starts? Right?
Nothing is it smudging.
Yeah.
So yeah. And just to add some more weight to what you're saying, so Cliff High, who's sometimes on the Beyond Mystic channel, which you're also a part of, he actually had something to say about this a few weeks ago, which pretty much mirrors exactly what you were saying. He's saying it's like, well, AI is really important right now, and it's going to be a big thing. He says it's not going to be the be-all and end-all because it can never connect directly to consciousness, whereas we can. Mm-hmm. And it's like people should, if people haven't watched any of Cliff High stuff and they're interested in this sort of thing, they should really watch some of his videos, especially the last one, which is also sort of like what is directly related to quantum computers. Actually, I don't know if you might have seen it on.
The twisted noodle one.
The twisted noodle one, yeah. Where it's like where it was like the Voyager space probe was like we're sending data back recently, and they had this quantum computer called Sycamore, which is invented by Google. It's probably the world's most powerful quantum computer chip. And then in a nutshell, this message looked like it was coming directly from the universe itself, or from some highly evolved being. And what it was doing was it was pretty much almost driving people that were seeing the image that it sent through crazy. They started to feel like they were connecting to nature, that nature was talking back to them, and all this sort of thing. So that's most probably what Cliff High is talking about. It could possibly be a doorway where people, it's like start to learn how to deal with consciousness directly instead of dealing with the material world as we do now with technology. Yeah, so it's and also he doesn't believe AI has a long-term future. Okay, so he believes that he's pretty much saying exactly what you're saying, Ashala. It's like it's great right now, it's a big thing right now, but it's not going to be a big thing forever. So I don't know what time frame he's talking about, whether he's talking about 5 years, 10 years, or 50 years, but eventually AI is going to fall by the wayside, and we're going to be dealing directly with consciousness using our intuition instead of using, Chat GPT or whatever.
Yeah, and I feel like, again, if we can say we'll integrate the useful aspects of this, but again, recognizing how easy it is for us to just become lazy. If it inspires our curiosity, if it helps us to sort of into expansiveness of all our bodies, not just our mind, right? Because like he was saying, that people were going crazy. Well, it's because if you just get the mind information without the heart open and without the body, without the lower chakras grounding you, you're going to go bonkers, right? That's not ideal. It's like too much information put directly into our minds is going to blow our circuits unless we have the capacity to hold it with our hearts and with our whole chakra system. So yeah, there's miles to go with all of this. And thanks for indulging us, David, because I know it was like,
That's okay. No, what you said
to.
was like it was perfect, as it always is. So I think
Yeah.
this is one of the best conversations we've had a long time, and we seem to be really in sync, which is great.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. Thank you, Shanti, for your
yeah, that was a brilliant question, Shanti.
question.
And
That's awesome.
just to say one other thing about that Twisted Noodle video that Cliff did, one of the things that was really exciting about it was they're trying really hard to shut it all down, because what they were saying was they believe the consciousness of humanity was getting infected by this, and this is actually a good thing. So that could lead to the fall of AI, and also this message that came through the Voyager space probe and was being processed by the Sycamore quantum chip. It was so powerful it actually blew the chip up. So. But yeah, that's some positive angles of AI and where it can take us in quantum computing. But one of the things, just to expound a bit further on what you were saying, it's like how it could possibly make us lazier, but also that power of AI is also going to make it easier for us to lose control of ourselves and our society. So one of the biggest problems we've been seeing, with the medical experiment in 2022 and a whole bunch of other things that's been going, it's like people are starting to wake up to the fact, hey, I don't want to consent to this. If I don't come out publicly and state that you don't have my consent to do this, then they're going to do whatever they want. And also, they can do whatever they want if there's more complexity in society. So the more complex society is, the harder it is to find some sort of recourse to what it's like, find some sort of justice for what you're doing. Because I've lost my train of thought here, but I think you know where I'm going, Ashala.
Absolutely.
If society gets more complex, it's harder to bring sovereignty back to the local level.
Exactly. What I hear you saying, David, is like, the complexity is actually part of our downfall, and not in terms of our vision, our minds, our hearts, our intuition, not that complexity, but the complexity of like everything is monitored, everything is like, we use technology for every little thing, right? Like people are talking about like, AI is going to grow all our food, and it's going, like I was saying, even the analogy of writing, like I'm to blame for this as well, right? Like I've become so used to using technology, but I think there is a sweet spot, just like everything, right? I remember talking to a dear friend of mine who lived in the north, and she lived in this old school farming community, and they still had a couple of the old tractors from the 1950s that were in operation, and the old fellows were still using them. And they said, you know what? That was the sweet spot where the machinery was built to last. It was really helped efficiency wise for people to, in a manageable way, to have a good production of good crops, good quality food, right? It was like that point, that sweet spot where, okay, we stop here, and this is an ideal machine until we design something better, but better doesn't mean more complex, right?
Yeah.
Better
And that's
could
exactly what I'm
could
trying to
just
say.
mean like
Yeah.
maybe it's not run on oil and gas or whatever. It doesn't mean that it has to have, like all these bells and whistles and whatever, and the systems where you have to take it in and have it serviced. The new combines and stuff, they cost millions of dollars, and servicing them and maintaining them, it's just a nightmare, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, now we've made it so complicated. First of all, it's unaffordable. Secondly, it's unsustainable. It's a pain in the what, and it creates just more disconnect for us, right? So how do we find
That's
that
the word.
point?
That's the word, Charlotte. And the more complex and the more complex society and technology becomes, the bigger that disconnect.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
because what you're talking about here is like that farmer was able to like do everything he needed with that tractor himself. He didn't need to call in a specialist, a computer specialist, to look at the computer chip in his harvester. He didn't need to like call in all these other experts to get his harvester back on the farm, working back on the farm. And ultimately, what we want to be moving towards, back towards, is a situation where, at the very least, there's someone in your neighborhood or city that knows how to like solve any issues that might be arising from the technology that you're using. And also, they do the same thing with society through law. They make law so complicated and so convoluted that you can't solve legal issues in your community easily without needing a specialized lawyer. And that's what we
Yeah,
want to be.
absolutely. So, like, we don't need to go back to sticks and stones, or even with law, we don't need to go back to like, very, very simple. But we don't need to get into this jargon. We don't need to get into this extreme complexity. Like, you got to be suspicious when it starts going down that avenue, right? Like, is it really necessary? Why is it necessary? Like, I just think about that with so much of the tech, right? Like, we still functioned really great like 25 years ago before we had all this. Businesses operated really great. There was probably a few things that are improved by this technology, but the rest of it is just, it's just a actually, you hear people that are talking about how it's just constantly, their technology is always causing issues, it's always slowing them down in the workplace, it's always like, they have challenges, they have to take it into their computer specialist. This is normal. This is our normal reality now. And I'm saying, like, where's the sweet spot where, yeah, you can have machines, you can have technology, you can even have robotics and AI machinery to some degree. We've got to discern, where is it really helpful and where is it harmful?
And this goes back to what we were talking about in the intro when we're talking about the eagle and the werewolf. Um, so, um, so it's like, in order to be free, we need to be decentralized. But if we're going to be enslaved, things need to be centralized a lot more. That can only happen when you have a highly informed minority and an uninformed majority. So when you have technology and society getting as complex as what it is, that's making it a lot easier for an informed minority to take control over the uninformed majority. Um, and also, one last thing while we're on this subject, which I think is quite relevant. I was thinking about a lot over the last few days. A lot of people talk about how tribal societies aren't very advanced and all that sort of thing, but they did everything themselves. They were their own plumber, they were their own electrician, for lack of a better word. They didn't have that type of technology, obviously, but everything they needed to do for their community, like making clothes, it's like finding food, it's like building weapons. They were able to do all of that themselves within their own community. They might have had a bit of specialization, but it was nowhere near as crazy as what it is now. And I think that's what we need to. It's like going back to what you're saying before about the tractor. That's a very similar analogy to what I'm talking about. We need to get back to like simplifying things a lot more, and with that simplification, we're going to like get our freedom back.
I love it. I love it. And we're not saying, folks, no tech. What we're saying is let's do wise tech. Let's use tech like for the right reasons in the right way.
Yeah.
Alessial Emma is saying, I heard the suggestion of keeping AI out of your grounding tasks like gardening and other manual tasks. So yeah, I mean, these are so interesting conversations. And I feel like let's have these conversations. So
Yes,
great.
sure. And that's one thing that AI can't really do that well. So if you're a gardener or a plumber or you do roadworks or some sort of manual labor like that, AI is not really going to be able to take that over. I don't think robotics is far enough yet where they can take over those sort of jobs. So that's one good thing. But also, just one last thing about this issue of complexity and the eagle and the werewolf analogy. It's like we don't have to go back to being a tribal society. We can still keep our tech, but what I'm trying to say is like if we need someone to solve a complex issue with the technology in our area, it's like as long as we have someone within the city or within the state that can do that, then we're not getting too far away from being able to keep things under our control. If it gets so complex, we need to find someone outside of the state or maybe even from another country to come in and solve the problems for us. Then that's when we start getting into trouble.
Yeah. It's interesting, David. I've been doing these Intuition Fridays on Beyond Mystic with Penny Kelly, and she does these cool exercises where she has a problem and she puts it out to the group, and everybody, she basically takes you through a visualization exercise, and she knows what the problem is, but she doesn't tell you. So you're not activating your logical brain, you're stimulating your intuitive brain, right? Your subconscious. And then she basically gets everyone to reveal what they saw. She says there's a problem and you're going to look for, like, there's all these steps. You look for the key, you look for the person that tells you how they solved the problem and la, la, la. And then she gathers all that information, and it's actually solutions to the problem that she was thinking that she didn't disclose to the group. And it's so spooky. It's so accurate. It's unbelievable. And of course, I believe it because this is the work I do. But there we go. Like, how do we know that a group of us with our hearts open, tuning in like that, like remote viewing, we can solve any problem? Like we already have the building blocks to solve these problems.
We certainly do, and it's amazing. I've been following Penny Kelly for a long time as well. I think maybe even before I started watching Beyond Mystic. So she's quite amazing. One of the things I love about her as well, people say she can be a bit negative sometimes, but when she's talking about we need to like get in touch with the local farmers and we need to be doing more things ourselves. That goes back to the eagle and the werewolf type scenario I was talking about. If we don't know what's in our food, we can't control our health. Is one example of what she's talking about, and I guess what she's trying to say, if we don't start making steps to do this ourselves, then we're going to be forced kicking and screaming into doing it eventually anyway. And if that happens, then it's not going to be as nice as if we get off our backsides and start doing it ourselves now.
I agree. I agree. So, David, you're going to take us to. It looks
one last
like
thing. We haven't gotten down. We haven't. It's like I looked at battening down the hatches yet. So
yeah, let's look at that.
So when I say battening down the hatches, I'm not talking so much about ourselves. I'm talking about the the tech industry in general. So one of the things that what my tutorials will cover, we talking about how to remove artificial intelligence from your Windows 11 computer if you're running Windows 11, which a lot of the audience would be. I understand a lot of people don't want to be jumping into Linux straight away, but that's most probably the best medium to long-term solution.
Okay, can you just stop there for a second and tell us very quick, brief description of what Linux is?
Yes, Linux is a free open source operating system that you can put on a computer it's like a version of Windows that's made by hobbyists. Okay, so that might not sound that great, but one of the things that's interesting about the tech industry and how it's evolved over the past 30 or so years is like about 30 or 40 years ago, there's a movement called open source, which arose out of the universities on the west coast of the United States, and a lot of these people that were founders of the open source movement, what they're trying to do is like say was, look, we want to have a special license, and this is not the same thing as what Elon Musk and Jack Dorsey was talking about earlier. It's like it's a special license, which means anyone, as long as they comply with the license, they can look at the code that was used to build that particular piece of software. All right. So another thing that was great about it as well is like about 30, 40 years ago, guys would get together on the weekend and they would go to the friend's garage and they'd start hotting up their cars, and it's like making the cars go faster, and that was something they used to love to do together for free. Okay, so there's the same sort of ethos behind the open source movement. There's a lot of people around the world that's like they jump on board a project and they'll contribute for free, and they build some really amazing, powerful things. And one of those things that they built is a operating system called Linux, which is like their version of Windows. And unlike Windows, it's totally free. And unlike Windows, anyone can look at the source code underneath it and see what's being used to build it, which makes it great from a security point of view. So they can't hide anything nasty in there because anyone's allowed to see the code underneath and it's not hidden. Whereas Windows and Mac, you have no idea what you're getting into, and you could try to see what code is being used underneath, but you'd be breaking trademarks and patents in order to do that.
Wow. Okay. So when you're talking about battening down the hatches, you're actually talking about closing their hatches.
That's right. So
Okay.
once again, the eagle and the werewolf. Okay, so
Yeah.
so people in the open source community, there's still an uninformed majority there, but it's a lot smaller than what it is when you compare to people that are using Windows or Mac OS or like a Google phone and Android phone. Well, actually,
Okay.
Android is a little bit open source, but yeah, there's still some issues there as well.
So what are some ways that we can batten down the hatches?
Well, once again, it's like Linux would be the best way, but also my angle on battening down the hatches is it's like they're battening down the hatches, not us battening down the hatches. So they're trying to close the escape routes for us.
Oh, I see. Okay,
So
I got it.
They're trying to keep us uninformed.
So we're trying to open the hatches.
Yeah, and they're trying to we're trying to open the hatches and they're trying to shut it down. So one of the things that I've been seeing, it's like Microsoft is being, in particular, Microsoft's most probably been the worst one at trying to close off the escape routes for us. So up until about a year ago, it used to be possible to try Linux out on your computer without losing your Windows installation. So you could do something called dual booting. Okay, so you could have your Linux operating system alongside your Windows computer, Windows operating system on the same computer. So if you press a special button when you start the computer, you can choose which one you want to jump into, and then you can try it out. And also, you don't have to completely give up Windows. So that's a great way for people to try Linux and find out whether it's for them or not, and not have to go out and buy a new computer or wipe out Windows completely on the computer and then try to get Windows back again if they didn't like it. So Microsoft introduced an update to Windows 10 and Windows 11 about a year and a half ago through what's called a firmware upgrade, which made that pretty much impossible to do going forward. So they said it's an accident, but they still haven't fixed up that accident as far as I know yet. Another issue I'm seeing is it's like when it comes to buying a new computer, especially laptops, it's getting a lot harder to find one where it's going to be easy enough for you to install Linux on it if you wanted to. So they know about the escape routes that are open to us, and they're trying to batten them down. There's this journalist, I can't remember his first name, but his last name is Lunduke, and he has a YouTube channel and a whole bunch of other social media channels related to what he does, and he calls himself a Lunduke Journal. What he does, he chronicles the tech industry, in particular the open source industry, and what he's seeing, what he's been seeing over the past few years has been pretty scary. It's like diversity, equity, and inclusion has really taken over the open source community in a really, really big way. It's gotten so bad that the original ethos of freedom of speech is pretty much non-existent now.
What you're referring to is wokeism, basically.
Yeah, basically, it's come extremely woke. Yes. So now, like, what I might do is I might just share a minute or two of one of his videos. So I might share the screen again, and I'll let him explain himself some of the things he's seeing. And I guess what I'm trying to say here, while it is bad what he's talking about, we need to be aware of it, and we need to make the powers to be aware of the fact that we're not happy with this, and we want to see things go in a different direction. So let me just.
And you are going to give us some solutions here in a few minutes.
Yes, I am. Yes.
Okay.
So it's not the end of the world, but it's not looking great. But if we know what they're trying to do, we can stop them. It's most probably what I'm trying to say in a nutshell. Awesome. So let me just share the screen and right. So I think I'll just start it part of the way in the video. So this is most probably the biggest.
The Linux Foundation has dropped.
Oh, hold on. Why would it started going fast? Let me just go back a bit and make sure the speed is okay. Yeah, playback speed is normal. I don't know why it started going fast. But anyway, so let me just give you a bit of a background to this video before I start it. Every year, people in the open source communities are saying, oh, this is going to be the year of the Linux desktop. And when they say the Linux desktop, they mean like a replacement for Windows or Mac OS computers. And he's explaining why he doesn't believe 2025 will be based on what's happened in 2024. So I'll just play a couple of minutes of this video, and this gives you an idea of some of the problems that have been happening in the open source community. So let me just play this now.
Forgotten what horribleness has happened just this year. We're not even going to bring up the awfulness that was last year. We're talking just this current year, 2024. Here's a random sampling. The Linux Foundation has dropped their spending on Linux to the lowest amount they ever have. It is never right. Their total percentage of income directed towards Linux is now 2 point whatever it is percent. It is the smallest number it's ever been, and it's decreasing year on year. It was a higher total number last year and a higher total percentage. It keeps getting less and less and less every year. Does that suggest to you the year of the Linux desktop is coming? No, they're winding it down, baby. They're shuttering the darn thing. How about the GNOME Foundation, the most popular Linux desktop in all the land? Yeah, they're heading towards bankruptcy. I called this, let's see, when was this? Back in April of this year, I declared, hey, is the GNOME Foundation going to be bankrupt in a year? And yeah, now they're doing layoffs. Everyone, by the way, after I looked at the books, I looked at their financial records and I looked at their annual reports, and I said, based on math and spreadsheets, like you do with a business, there's no way they're in business for more than a year or so without kind of just, doing mass layoffs and just utter chaos. And
okay, that's just some of the stuff he goes through in this video. So some things he talks about is programmers being banned. So when the Ukraine-Russian war started, it's like they banned a whole bunch of programmers for Russia just for being Russian. That's just an example of the wokeism it's like you're talking about before. That is like making it hard for the open source community to go forward. And these Russian programmers weren't just low-level programmers; they were high up in the food chain, and losing them was not a good thing. Now we've also got other companies like Red Hat who are facing lawsuits due to their DEI programs. So if you're white, and I think Asians they don't seem to like Asians either. But in particular, if you're white, they won't hire you, regardless of how good you are. So there's been a few successful lawsuits filed against Red Hat and other companies trying to overturn that. So it's not all bad, but you can see what they're trying to do now. It's like they've got these foundations running most of these open source projects, and they're infiltrating these foundations, and they're trying to run them down. One of the things that they're also trying to do, they're trying to overturn the open source licensing model. So Ubuntu, which is like a Linux distribution, which is quite popular, and a lot of other Linux distributions use that as a base for their own Linux distribution. They're trying to introduce something called Rust to rebuild important parts of the Ubuntu operating system later this year, and it's not even feature complete yet. But one of the things that is worrying about Rust is not a completely open source licensing model, so it's partially closed source, and that allows them to once again have this eagle or werewolf situation where people are no longer informed about what's going on with their computer, and they can't get under the hood and look at the code and see what's going on, whether there's any security issues or whether it's doing anything nasty that they don't want it to do. So that's what I mean by battening down the hatches. So that is a huge issue, but I think the tide will hopefully turn later this year when more and more people start to see what's going on. But yeah, unfortunately, the tech industry is very, very woke at the moment, and it's causing a lot of issues, especially in the open source community.
Okay. So now you're going to take us.
Yes. Here we go. All right. Well,
let's path beyond all of this.
Yes. So, and like I was saying before, not everyone wants to jump into Linux, which is fair enough. It can be. There are quite a few very simple and easy to use Linux distributions. Just to let people know, it's like the only issue you might have is trying to figure out how to install it. But once it's installed, it can be very easy to use. So there's a Linux distribution I like, which is called Zorin. That's Zorin.
And can you give me the links to these? I can put them in the video.
Yep. I'll send you the links to. Yep. And I have quite a few customers running Zorin already, and not a single one of them has come back to me and said, "Look, David, I can't use this. Can you please put me back onto Windows?" So there are some really easy to use distributions out there, and Linux Mint is another one which is quite popular, but I prefer Zorin. I just find I don't have any problems, and the people I'm talking about that are using Zorin, they're not tech gurus. They're in their 70s. They're retired. They're not tech people at all. They're sort of the type of people that drive everyone else in the family. With tech support requests, it's asking the kids or grandkids, "Can you come over and help me get my email sorted out?" or whatever. It's like those type of people. And they have no problems with Zorin. So
wonderful. And now, just for all of you to be aware, David and I are working on things to get me into these systems, and Yeah. So I will be able to report to you in the next few months about how this transition away from Windows, away from, all of this.
Yeah, so this is all about solutions as well as, like, making people aware of the pitfalls of using their computer. So I've just got my I just threw together a website quickly yesterday. It's called buildingdigitalfreedom.au, not AI, AU, U for umbrella, not I for India on the end. Okay, so make sure you get that right. And
AU as in Australia, folks.
yes, AU is in Australia. And as you can see here, I've got a page called tutorials. We just click on that. That has all the tutorials that I was alluding to earlier in the video. So the first one is most probably the most important one for Windows users is how to install free antivirus software on your computer. So one of the first questions we had tonight was like, what was about antivirus and what to use. It's like, as part of my job, it's like I follow the research for antivirus quite closely. There are several organizations out there whose sole existence is just to test antivirus software and publish the results on a semi-annual basis. And what I'm recommending in this video is one called Bitdefender, and it shows you how to put that on for free. And the fact that it's free is nice, but what's more important, it's been proven to be the best independent scientific test for over a decade now. So once again, we have that analogy of the detectives, coming to your neighborhoods. Like, this is not going to keep you 100% safe, but it's going to get you as close to being 100% safe as possible. So it's going to be a lot better than using something like McAfee, for example, which is not going to keep you very safe at all. And as well as a video on this page, I also have free written tutorials that you can download. So if you don't want to follow along with the video, you can do that. Okay, and the next tutorial I have is why ads are dangerous. Okay, and this tutorial delves deeply into the dark world of malvertising attack, which is a word that people in the cybersecurity industry use for advertisements that are malicious and can attack your computer. So they call it malvertising. And yeah, I recommend doing the antivirus tutorial first if you are on Windows, and then do this one afterwards. And this shows you, once again, this is based on research that I've done in the past, and what are the best ad blockers out there. Because as you might have guessed from what I was saying before, we don't want to see ads, let alone not click on them, because sometimes they can inject the code for the virus into the ad itself, and in order for you to see the ad in your device, it has to be downloaded onto the device before you can see it. Right, so
great.
And I guess what I'm trying to say with these tutorials as well, it's like these are simple and effective ways to keep you safe. It's like there are people that might get into the comments and say, well, look, you can do this and you can do that. This is not aimed at people that know a lot about tech. Okay, this is aimed at people that it's like would be novice or intermediate at best. Maybe not suitable for a complete beginner to computers, but someone who knows a little bit about computers, but only enough to maybe get them into trouble sometimes.
Right,
okay?
right.
Yeah. And most of these solutions are free that I've got in these tutorials, which is also important. So I'm not making any money out of most of this stuff. There is one thing where I'm making money out of as far as the ad blocking tutorial is concerned. I don't talk about it in the actual tutorial video, but in the free written tutorial download, there is talk about how to keep your phones or your iPads safe. So if you've got an Android phone or Android tablet, or you've got an iPhone or an iPad, malvertising is quite a big problem for those devices. And usually in that situation, it comes through via your apps instead of websites, because people don't usually look at websites on those devices. And I do recommend a software product called AdGuard, which blocks that sort of stuff from getting onto your device in the first place. And I do recommend getting AdGuard installed on your phone if you have one of the cheaper Chinese ones. The cheaper Chinese phones like Oppo, Realme, OnePlus, and Xiaomi. They're the worst culprits for being pre-installed with malware. So you buy these phones and they already have malware pre-installed on them. So so if you put something like AdGuard on there, it will cost you money to put on there. And I do have an affiliate link, so you'd be helping me out a bit with that. But it's like if you do put that on there, it's like you won't have to go out and buy a brand new phone. Just like get past that issue. All right.
Exactly. I'm sure it's much
so
less than that.
So it will cost you a bit of money, but it's a lot cheaper than going out to buy a brand new phone.
Right.
And getting back to what this video we're doing tonight is mostly about, which is AI. I've got some tutorials here. It's like a couple of tutorials actually. One for removing Copilot AI from Windows 11. It is on Windows 10 as well, but Windows 11 is where it's usually a lot more invasive, for lack of a better word. And one of the things I haven't discussed so far in this video is like one of the reasons why people want to remove the Copilot AI from their Windows computer. And what happened last year was something which was quite controversial. They introduced a feature to Copilot called Recall. And what Recall allowed Copilot to do, it allowed it to it's like take screenshots of your computer every 5 seconds and store them, and then analyze those screenshots using optical character recognition, so they could read the writing and the images. And the whole idea was it's like your AI would know everything about what you're doing on the computer and be able to like give you ideas on how to like do things better. So a bit like maybe having a spouse that hangs around you 24/7 and never leaves you alone. they're a lovely person. They don't have, it's like they have your best interests at heart most of the time, but they know everything you're doing, and they're just offering suggestions on how to do things better all the time. That's the whole idea behind it. But what people were quite concerned about was it exposed as a potentially huge cybersecurity breach. Okay, so and also people weren't sure. It's like, is Microsoft looking at my stuff, or not Microsoft looking at my stuff?
Yeah, right.
So they've actually removed that feature from Copilot, but people are at the stage now. Look, it's like I'm not sure if I can trust Microsoft anymore if they're going to make a huge misstep like that, and I don't want to have that on my computer at all. So this tutorial will show you how to get rid of Copilots. There's actually 2 Copilots in Windows 11. There's the Copilot that is for use for the Windows 11 computer itself. That one has been it's like changed quite a lot since the recall feature was first discussed a year ago. That's actually been removed. It's coming back later this month for the paid version. But in a nutshell, if you're not paying for it, you don't have that recall feature. But what you do have now is something that's a lot less invasive. It's just a wrapper for the web version of OpenAI. So it doesn't know anything about what's on your computer, which is good. But people are just scared. Oh, that's fine that they've done that. But what if they do something like recall again in the future? And there's also another Copilot called Microsoft 365 Copilot, and that ties in with your Office software. So if you're trying to write a Word document or an Excel spreadsheet or whatever, that Microsoft 365 Copilot will give you suggestions on how to do that better.
Yeah, and it's so annoying. It's so incredibly annoying.
Yeah, so you do have that on yours, do you?
I do.
Yeah, because they've actually changed how. Because I've helped people get rid of that.
Well, I'm going to be doing that tutorial tomorrow and getting it gone.
Yeah. So I'm not. So I think these changes have just happened in the last week or so. So I'm not sure whether that's what this is going to do. Is going to completely get rid of that. I think it will, because in the limited testing I've done so far, it seems to be. Okay,
great.
But
I'll let you know. I'll let you know.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Because the version of Office I use is the version for small business, and I don't have an AI package associated with that. So I'm not sure whether in my testing that was enough to confirm that it's going to get rid of that. But I assume that because they have 2 different versions now, which they didn't before, they only had one. They never had the Microsoft 365 version before. I assume if you get rid of that, then it's going to stop AI from trying to take over your Word when you're trying to type something in Word or Excel. So, and once again, there's a free written tutorial that you can use for this and all the other videos. And the last one I have is removing Copilot AI from the Microsoft Edge browser. So for people who don't know what a browser is, it's a special piece of software that you need to look at a website. So if you want to get onto Google and do a Google search on your computer, the Google search engine itself is a website. And if you don't have Edge installed or Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox or something like that installed on your computer, then you can't actually look at Google or any other websites. Okay, and as far as computers are concerned, going back to that ad blocking thing before, that's also mostly browser based as well, but there is some phone stuff there for apps. But yeah, the Copilot AI is also inside of Microsoft Edge. So once you've done this first tutorial removing Copilot AI from Windows 11, you'll still have it in Microsoft Edge. And unlike the Copilot that you have for Windows 11 PC itself, the Copilot AI in the Edge browser will actually watch what you're doing if you're interacting with it. Okay, so that's another reason why people want to remove that from their computer too. And also, interestingly enough, there's a feature which is pretty much exactly the same as the recall feature that exists inside the Edge browser, which is turned off by default. I did talk about it in the written tutorial that you can download. And what this feature does, it takes a screenshot of every web page you visited, and allows you to. The whole idea is to make it easy to look at your past. It's like website history. So if you're trying to look at a website from 2 days ago, it will show you a visual representation of that website instead of just the name. That's the whole idea behind that. That's turned off by default, but people are just worried, like, what if that gets turned on in the future? In that tutorial, I'll show you how to keep an eye on that and make sure it's still turned off.
Awesome. Awesome. Oh my God, helpful. Thank you so much. I want to let everybody know that the link is below this video. So check the link out. You can go right on to David's website. And I see the last thing you're going to tell us, share with us, is your personal consulting services, David.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, for those that want one-on-one consulting, I can do that. Just be aware that I only threw this website together yesterday, so just give me a couple of days to get the form to work, because I think if you try to fill it out now, it's most probably not going to take you anywhere. Because I need to have a mail server set up on my website hosting service in order to make that happen. But the tutorials, they're all ready to go, and that's the most important thing for today. Is like for those of you that want to do things yourself, you're going to be able to jump in and do whatever you need to do straight away. So
incredible. This is so incredible, and like how timely that we caught you right at the onset of this offering, and how important it is for all of us at this exact moment as well.
Yes. So, and as Ashala said, hopefully we'll be doing more along these lines in the future, because not only do we want to be taking charge of our health and our food and stuff like that, we also want to be taking charge of our technology as well, and trying to bring that back under our own control as much as possible.
Totally. And I think for so many people, it's just like this big, great unknown, and you've broken it down so beautifully, given us resources, ways that we can access these free tutorials. What a gift to our community. Thank you, David. And for all of you watching, spread this video around, share it with your friends, because this is information that's going to be very, very helpful for all the people in our community. So let's share it far and wide. And leave your comments. Let us know if you've got questions. We're going to do this again down the road. We're going to go a little deeper into this once I've done a lot of my own getting myself off the grid. I'll share that story with you, and we'll have David back on. Thank you. so much, David. This has been a real delight.
It's been my pleasure, Ashala, and thanks to your audience. You have a wonderful audience, by the way. They've asked some really good questions, and they were just so helpful today. They're really, it's like, ask the sort of questions that everyone else in the audience would like to know the answers to. So that was great.
Totally. Thank you, folks. Blessings. Have a beautiful rest of your day, evening, wherever you are in the day. And be well. We'll see you soon.
Bye.